Hey, I'm Marina.
And I'm Emily.
And I've seen everything in the Sex and the City empire 10,000 times.
And I'm starting fresh.
So I'll be woman-splaining the show.
And I'm along for the ride.
But there's a twist. We're starting with And Just Like That and working our way back to the beginning.
So in other words, we're watching it backwards and in high heels.
This is City and the Sex. Welcome. Howdy. We made it to the end of the season, the end of the series. Whether or not they intended that, I think we know the answer at this point. It's not contested. But this is And Just Like That, Season 3, Episode 12, Party of One. Emily, we did it.
We made it. I'm relaxed and happy and I'm overjoyed. I mean, honestly, it's like if it was renewed, I think I said this before, but like I said, this would have been my last episode anyway because I had reached my limit. So now I get to at least end on a high and not going with a tail between my legs away from this.
When you admitted that you had just started putting it on mute and watching it with subtitles, is that what you said, or low volume or whatever? Because of their voice,
extreme low volume
all the time. Meanwhile, I'm listening to it on full blast twice. Being like, let me get every kernel.
You're built different, I gotta say. It's I applaud you, and I can't wait to. I want to hear about all of your emotional roller coaster thoughts through your first and second viewing of this.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, I was obviously first time through. I was curious because I was like, it's obvious now that they did not intend for this to be the last episode, right? Or of the whole thing forever. So I was worried that it was going to end in a weird way, even though, you know, Michael Patrick King has said he always tries to end seasons with the thought that it might not get renewed, given Hollywood. So the first time through, I mean, I'll bring up the turd moment now. We'll talk about it more in depth, but it was like everything was sort of going along and I got really scared. And then the turd moment happened and I got really scared. And then it like ended, I thought, really well after the turd moment. But I was stuck there. And then I thought about the turd moment for days. Like I would dry heave at times, literally thinking about how gross it was.
Yeah.
And how confusing it was. We'll get into it. So then when I watched it the second time, I was like, you know, I do think that they did generally sort of pull this off. That they ended this whole series in literal shit is insane to me. I don't know at this point now if it's just like a big old meta joke that we all, you know, are just bystanders of in Michael Patrick King's world, because it feels too on the nose to be real.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. I too am happy that this show is done. You know, I think I like a relationship. Mm-hmm. I had invested a lot of time. I was hopeful in its potential, and ultimately it let me down. And you know, I was never going to leave, but it decided to die on its own accord. So that has released me free. That's where I'm at.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
The woman had done all she could.
She had done all she could. She had done all
she could.
So stupid. I did want to, you know, mention that we reached out to Rachel, friend of the pod, because we were curious in filming, you know, maybe the last episode with her, and then our schedules didn't work out. So you and I asked her for a comment, maybe even a little audio sizzle. And she just sent me, no, period. That's my quote for the podcast. And then she said, I'm watching the actual last episode as a palate cleanser, which is crazy to me because, as we discussed, the last episode is all over the place.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I wrote, ain't that sad? Hey, shit happens. And she just wrote, lose my number.
Thank you, Rachel. It was nice knowing you also.
Yeah, it's been real.
It's been real. This is how your relationship with Rachel would end, is harassing her for just like that thoughts and her being like, do not speak to me again.
Listen, I gotta go. And when I say I gotta go, I mean I'm not coming back. I mean,
correct.
she is the Samantha of our friend group, so
it's a very correct take. Good.
Tracks. My God, are we gonna get into it? And just like that, season 3, episode 12, party of one. Oh, I forgot our one word. I was so blindsided. My one word, it's obvious. Shit happens. What's your one word?
My one word is, I love Shu. God bless Shu. Let his name be praised. I hope he's doing well.
Yes. Michael Patrick King spoke about on the Writers Podcast how, you know, cats in filming, it's very much like the cat's going to do what the cat's going to do, and you have to just sort of work around that. Very cat behavior. And he was talking about, like, for that final shot, the cat like jumped up on the table, and then instead of running away, it just like sat down and like stayed in place. And then in fact, in the final shot, you can see the cat sitting in the background. Like
I didn't
when
even notice.
Yeah, when they do the window, the last Carrie in the window shot, you see the cat sitting and moving in the background.
Oh, lovely.
As a cat stan, I mean, I adore that.
I adore that. Good for Shu.
Good
Knows
for
her
Shu.
moments.
Yes.
Knows her lighting.
A movie star in the making. Well, now let's get into it, man. I'm just going to go top to bottom through this episode.
All right, here we go.
So Carrie goes to this sort of big Chinese chain that's like one of those places where you order on iPads and all the waiters are cat robots. I will say I did think this scene, up until the Tommy Tomato, was pretty relatable, because I do feel very out of place every time I've been to one of these things.
Yeah, no, it is weird. It is, I mean, but it's also, I thought it was kind of perfect for the finale, because like this is what the show is, right? Is just Carrie being like befuddled by new things and young people. So like this is how we should end. I was like, this is correct. My roommate also saw this scene while she was making dinner, and she was like, this is the finale? And I was like, yes, this is how it ends. And she's like, the scene is just so odd. Like, is that just how that ends? Like, what are we supposed to take from that? Like, what was the point of that? And I was like, Anna, these are such good questions. This is what we're asking every week. Is what do we take from, what are we supposed to get from this? Are we supposed to be rolling on the floor with laughter? Are we supposed to go, yeah, girl, so me? I don't know. We'll never know. But yeah, that's exactly the reaction to have.
Yeah. We'll never know. I'm just trying to think, like, yeah, Duncan wasn't in the last episode, right? Because I'm like, we've literally seen her alone for 2 episodes.
Yes.
So like, I'm not even adjusted to the idea that she's going to die alone yet.
Yeah, this is like very extreme. If only the Aiden thing was wrapped up earlier and just ended at the end of last season. And
right.
So this season could have been the Duncan season, and then we would have had time for the second half of it to be her being like, I'm actually might not be with someone. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's too bad we did this all at the very end of the season.
In general, there's some really incredible like voodoo magic that's happening in this episode, where like they make you feel as though they've ended on these like closed, united notes. But then when you like really think back to everything that happened, like when I went to do my second viewing, I had to scroll through the other episodes, you know, like on the timeline of like episode 1, episode 2. And it sort of like reminded me of everything that happened. And I was like, wait a minute. We left a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That didn't quite get wrapped here. And I feel like this whole thing about Carrie, you know, coming into herself and maybe it's just me is interesting, but we did not explore it. The season was not about that. The season was very much about Aiden.
Yes.
Even Duncan is sort of thrown in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And he doesn't really end on a final touch in the way that sets up this plot about her being alone. I don't know. It doesn't really feel earned.
Yeah, because his touch is that she is a writer. which I guess she
Right.
didn't know before. Let's not even get into that. Like, just put a huge pin in that we'll never come back to. But like, that's the gift that he gave her, was being like, no, you're a serious auteur and writer, not like you're magical. I don't know, but everybody says she's magical, so maybe that's just it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like really we'll get to it when we get to the bridal scene, but I do feel like
Oh
there's a lot
yeah.
of hustling of like, we're going to make this a really big deep moment and really female empowerment. I'm like, you didn't earn any of this, and you can't just like drop this and pretend that it's fine.
And
America
hope for the
Ferrera
best.
style. Let's just like talk and hope that this works. I can't wait till we get to the bridal scene.
I know. Well, as I said, then, Tommy Tomato shows up, which is a stuffed doll. And the woman is like, that way you don't have to eat alone. I keep going back and forth on this because as a person who has eaten alone many times,
Yeah.
I'm like, do I like the idea of the doll? I don't know.
What do you mean, like the idea of the doll? Like
Like
as
if,
a person in a restaurant?
yeah,
Or like,
if somebody put a doll in front of me while I was eating alone, like, yeah, it's weird for sure. I'm not denying that. But I'm like, does it make the experience better?
it does make it sillier, and I feel like this entire restaurant is just like gimmicks. So like this
True.
tracks. You know what I mean? Is like, yeah, you would have a doll.
True.
As long as it doesn't talk, I feel like it's just a funny, silly thing.
I agree. Oh, well, and you know me and puppets. Once you get a puppet in my hand, game over.
You're right.
It's got a voice. It's got a story. Okay.
It's got a plot. It's got a backstory. You're also taking it home.
One time, my boyfriend and I were in a store, and I just like found the puppet corner, and he literally was like, "Oh my god, we're never gonna leave." I was like, "No, anyway, alligator." Like it was just okay. I'd much rather be doing that than this. That's what Michael Patrick.
That
is
would
with
be
these women.
fun.
Hey, okay.
Hey.
So we finally get to LTW and Marion editing. They did put a button on this. Thank God. We got to give them that credit. C plus.
Yeah.
Also, rip to this doc.
Yeah, my God. This documentary series of Sheroes. My God. It is, I think it's a fitting ending to have the Michelle Obama thing wrap up, and it still gets to end with her being like the narrator, possibly. It ends on this like hopeful note, whatever. I think that's fine. This plot just sort of went nowhere and is exhausting, but I'm glad it ended the way it did and not going a curveball with Marion. You know what I mean? Like, it should have ended with nothing happening.
Yeah, except then next season something would have happened.
Yeah.
They would have like immediately reversed everything that happened in this scene. And
That's true, because everything exists in a vacuum. That's true.
Yeah. So, as you said, they find out that Michelle Obama is possibly going to narrate. I will say, at least they put an end to Comptroller, because that would have killed me if they had not put an end to this and not Comptroller. But they don't put an end to this, but they're so excited about the results that they get a big hug. For a minute, it almost looks like that they kiss.
Yeah.
Like they get really facially
very close hug.
And then he's like, let's go to dinner. And then she's like, no, we can't go to dinner. And then he's like, let's get drinks. And she's like, we have time for drinks, but it's a no, because this has to be about work. And then he's like, I got it. You're married. I'm married. She's like, I just said that. Like, okay. Like the scene kind of sort of takes a weird energy. Mm-hmm. And then he has this very clunky line where he's like, I'm an editor. I know not to put in the next scene in this movie of whatever this is.
Big yikes.
And then she's like, we'll work it out. And then he's like, yeah, I said that. It was like, do you know what I mean? It like was in a weird place still.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I don't really know what I'm supposed to read from their deliveries. Is like LTW kind of supposed to be cranky in the kind of snappy, like, I just said that. I don't understand if they're joking. It's a weird energy. The line about being an editor and being like, this is not the next scene in our movie is just so embarrassing that I'm just happy that it's over, but
wow. Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's like they're on a good idea here. And then as usual, they just like fumble at the pass every time where it's like, Marion, I gotta be honest, you're too fucking hot. That's funny. Marion, you're too fucking hot and I can't do this. And then he would have done what Michael Patrick King wanted him to do, according to the Writers Podcast, which is he would have been like, LTW, I'm gay.
Har, 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 har.
That kills me. Can you imagine if that's how this ended? He's like, LTW, I'm gay. I would have thrown up.
I think we would have been talking about this for a much longer portion of this episode because we would have been like very angry that we spent all of this time on this. This is the second time that we've had like gay person cop out so they can't cheat.
God.
Like Irish babysitter.
Irish babysitter. Oh. Our favorite, our patron saint, Irish babysitter. That's honestly probably the one thing that kept them from not doing it, is that one person remembered being like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get, I think, what is my favorite scene of the episode, I'll say it now, which is this really tender scene between Miranda and Steve.
Yes.
Which, like, love seeing them together in a way that's nice.
Yes, my God.
And not, you ruined my life by washing your hands before fingering me. Lest we forget. I never forgot.
Oh, Marina. It makes me mad. Again. Anyway, continue.
So we learn that Steve is not going to come to Thanksgiving because he doesn't want to rock the boat after freaking out at Brady. And then he's like, yeah, so you met Mia. What's she like? And Miranda's like, I'm afraid she might be an idiot. Which I also love that there's I think this is maybe the funniest exchange in the whole episode, which is she's like, Brady told her I was bipolar. And then Steve goes, aren't you? And then it like does a J cut where like she keeps talking, but it's like still on his face, you know, like holding the room, being like, that was kind of a good one, but not in an obnoxious way. Like it was just like beautiful moment. Beautiful moment.
Exquisite.
Isn't she at this point?
Yeah, it's like the only thing that makes sense, honestly. I give it so much credit that I feel like his little wry smile is like his decision, and the editor was like, that's good.
That's good. I'll keep that in.
Yeah.
And then Miranda's like, baby's having babies. And then he's like, I'm going to leave a message and apologize. And this moment was cute too, where he was like, she's like, what are you going to say? He's like, I'm going to say sorry and I miss you and you're fucking up your fucking life. Yes. Because we talked about this a little bit offline. Like, we were like, Steve is the only person reacting like a human in this show. And then I listened to all the podcasts and read all the, reviews of the episode. And everybody was like, Steve's in out of control, like meltdown. And I was like, did I misread this? And then this scene confirmed that I'm not crazy. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. It is us who are right. Everyone else is wrong.
Wrong. And then, he says, we're going to figure it out. And then there's just this really tender moment where he says, there's no way our grandkid won't know us.
Yeah. Oh.
And Miranda gets like tearful and she's like, that's exactly how I feel. And then he ends it on, is she pretty? And Miranda's like, why is that important? And you know why it's important. And then we move on. Television.
Is it? What do you know? Yeah, I have nothing to say because everything about the scene was like normal and fun and good.
And I'm glad they put them to rest in a really good way. I actually think Miranda gets the best conclusion out of anybody here, which is
unscathed.
Such a relief after 2 seasons of pain.
Yeah. Yeah. My God.
And Snapplegate. Never forget.
I'm still there.
Then we get to Adam and Sema, and they're in the potty, and Sema's getting ready. She has to go, to work early because of the bridal fashion show. And Adam's naked, and he's like, oh, that's a waste of time. And she's like, what's a waste of time? And then he just like, in the most like, let me read this script right now. It's like, weddings are a waste, and they're dumb. I mean, the institution, I take you. Okay, whatever, as he pees. And you're like, for a series finale, we don't have time to introduce this. And also, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care that this is an aspect of Adam's relationship. We're not going to have time to explore how this makes Sema feel either. It was so badly done, and because he's off screen like peeing, I'm like, was this like ADR added? You know what I mean? Like, did they just decide to add? Because it's just so it does feel like it's a setup for a plot that we're just never gonna see. So I was like, all right, well. Also, if this is a real thing, if he's like against weddings, this is such a hilarious way to let those feelings be known. Is like mid piss be like, ha ha, what an institution, am I right? It's like
Yeah.
very strange.
Also, she's going to see a fashion show. Like,
right. She's not actually going to a wedding.
Right. I don't know. Whatever. I guess he had to get the exposition out now. So
All right.
no better way to do it than over the toilet. A reoccurring theme this episode.
Yeah, I was just going to say. The first of many.
So then we cut to Sema and Carrie and Charlotte and LTW at the bridal show, which is at one of New York's botanical gardens, looking gorge.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Carrie sort of recounts the horror of Tommy Tomato, and everybody's like, okay, haha, sure, girl. And then we sort of get these kind of two simultaneous sort of couplet scenes while the fashion show is happening. So basically it's a big fashion show. It's all these wedding dresses. On the writers podcast, they were like, we see it, 1846, it's right here. And I kept like stumping over that. Exactly. Because I was like, what do you mean 1846 is right here? Like what? And then I was like, I don't have time to think about this. And so, but the point that they want to make is that like they have a divorced woman who remarried, a woman who's married, a woman who's married but lost her husband, and a woman who's never married. Deep.
Wow.
Marriage. So wedding. And so first we get the Sema Carrie couplet, and Sema's like, Adam literally pissed all over marriage. This is my note as Marina. I honestly don't know why this is an issue. I'm like, do they have to get married even? I don't know.
Have they
Can't
been
just
dating longer than a few months?
Cool older couple? Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, marriage, that's just up to you guys and what you want to do with your taxes at this point.
And so we basically just like engage in this whole back and forth that's like, do I really want to get married, or is it something that I'm groomed for? Am I just programmed for it? Which like is a real discussion we have all had, lazily submitted.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, yeah, I relate to this conversation. I don't relate to this, but
yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's very like, it feels like a CBS sitcom almost, in the way of the like, this is like very outdated conversations and feminism. Do you know what I mean? It's like very kind of, this would have been maybe an interesting plot many, many, many years ago, but like Sex and the City, remind everyone, was like 30 years ago. You know, it's like we've kind of moved past this, and also like it's not earned. It's not like we've seen this plot developing interestingly over a season. She's just like word vomiting at us. You know what I mean? Being like, am I groomed? Am I to do this? Am I whatever? And I'm like, this just reads like, I don't know. This reads like you Googled, what are some anxieties women have about marriage today? And just like read the top answers. Yeah. Just ChatGPT got you.
I also, the one thing that bothered me that I will never let go of is she's like, you know, I always envisioned my wedding day. I mean, never a white dress, saffron and gold. And I was like, you know, next season she was going to convince him to get married and then have some exquisite saffron and gold dress, which like, you do you, queen, not here to stand in your way,
right?
But just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You see the seeds being planted.
And then she asks Carrie, she's like, well, why did you get married? And then she was like, well, it meant I was chosen. And I'm like, right. By who? Mr. Big.
Big. Boom. Get her.
Boom, baby.
Also, it's like, I mean, they weren't going to get married, and we're happy not being married. The reason that he proposes is like, she kind of brings it up and is like, I don't know, should we? You know what I mean? It's like, they were kind of together for a while. At least that was the implication at the beginning of the first movie.
Well, I think they conflate the finale in Paris with that, because when I was listening to the writers podcast, they were like, Carrie was always yearning to have Mr. Big say, "You're the one," which is the thing he says in Paris.
Right.
But to your point, that did not a wedding make, because they're very similar to Sema and Adam, where they were like, I mean, I guess we could get married at this point, but like, I
Whatever.
don't know. Do you want to? Like, that was the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then he gave her a TV as an anniversary gift. So,
Yeah. Why did you gonna get married, Carrie? The TV.
the TV, deadliest catch. Okay. So then we get the LTW Charlotte sort of marriage conversation. And LTW is like, marriage is about confusion, not knowing how to help, holding your tongue. And then Charlotte's like, cancer, don't forget the cancer. And then she offhandedly is like, Harry's devastated about our love life. And then LTW is like, how do you feel about it? She's like, it's not really about me. Like, what is this dialogue?
Yeah, this feels like it's weird because this was in the preview, so we knew that this was not like an addition when they found out the show was ending. But doesn't it feel like one?
It does.
Like,
yes.
doesn't it feel like a scramble to just have everyone say what they're feeling at this given moment in time very quickly so that we could wrap this up? You know what I mean? And it's even shot very weirdly where it's not. I think it's supposed to be two simultaneous conversations are happening, but they don't like film it that way. So when Sema and Carrie are talking, you still see some wide shots with LTW and Charlotte, and they're just sitting there looking at the models. Like, they're just sitting there in silence waiting for their turn to speak like it's a high school play. You know what I mean? They're not even doing the like fake pretend to talk to each other thing, and then we like cut over to them and hear what they're saying. So the whole thing feels very stagey and weird.
I think the other thing that makes it feel weird is, there's plenty of runway scenes I think in the first movie they go to New York Fashion Week, in the show they go and they have these talks over the runway shows and stuff. Or usually, honestly, right before the show starts is usually when they like have their sort of conversational chats about life. And they feel very real. It feels like it's happening. And there's something about the glamorous filming of this runway that feels very ethereal and very much like an ad.
Yeah.
In a way that is very disarming when they cut it in between then these women talking again in their like heavenly void death light that they put them all in. And so to your point, how we started this whole conversation, it feels like, hey, this is a really deep moment. Look at this. Look at the visuals. Compare the visuals to what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I just don't believe any of this is happening.
Yes, exactly.
By the way that it's filmed, it doesn't feel like organic in a way that's like, oh, this is like happening in the room. Yes. Carrie's really looking at these dresses and like thinking about big. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever it is,
Totally agree.
We do get one snarky comment though, where Charlotte's like, "Ooh, that one's pretty," and then LTW is like, "Pretty misleading." And again, I'm like, "Girl,
what?
He lost an election. Let him have this." And then she whines about him for like 5 more minutes, and she's like, "He won't let me tell him how to help him." And you're like, "Girl, take a chill pill."
It's all also vague stuff again. You know what I mean? It feels very like they Googled common problems women have with marriage. She's just like, I hate how he won't let me help him. I hate how he has to wait for me to tell him to do things. Like, she's sort of stating their relationship in such vague, impersonal terms that are like, so they're relatable, but not actually, I'm not feeling empathetic because it's like so clinical and vague. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's very weird. The whole scene is very strange.
And also, they're not like real problems. Yeah. We have not really seen either of these couples fight. Like, we've seen Chris Jackson get testy in the last couple episodes because he's going through depression because he lost comptroller, which is fair. But every other time we've seen him and LTW, like, are they ever really fighting? No. So when they're sitting there being like, knowing what you know now, would you get married again? And Charlotte's like, absolutely. And then LTW is like, huh, me too. I'm like, yeah, because you have a pretty sick life. Like, the hardest thing for LTW is that Chris Jackson has extracurriculars and she has extracurriculars, and that's hard to balance.
Yeah.
But like ultimately he is loving and he is fun and he is sexy. And then Charlotte, it's like Harry, wants to watch sports games.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, like, yeah, those are annoying. Even the little stuff in couples is annoying. I'm not saying, to shut the hell up. But what I am saying is like, I have not seen these couples really like go through it. Capital GTH or I, whatever. I can't spell. You know
LTW
what I mean?
is talking. Yeah. I feel like LTW, I think you sort of struck on why LTW is so strange. They're all really weird, but like she's talking as if she and her husband have capital I issues, and we haven't seen that yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've seen her like have the crush on the guy that never went anywhere, but other than that, it's like we've seen him go urinate when she wanted to have sex and he didn't. You know what I mean? Like I haven't actually seen them like have a big blow up fight or issue really. So, but she's talking as if they do, of like, it's about compromise and it's so hard and why are men like this, but I would do it all again. I'm like, that's whatever you say, I guess. I do want to say it's really funny. I did really enjoy her saying to Charlotte, would you do it again? And Charlotte, without hesitation, goes, absolutely. And I was like, you know what, Harry? That's my fucking goat right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely to Harry. I mean, it was such a funny to go down this line of people, like you said, who are like the different stages of women in marriage, and these men aren't giving me what I want, and I'm so anxious about whatever. And then you get to Charlotte, who's like, yeah, my life actually is perfect. Isn't it great? I was like, that's my goat. It was like, you know those like TikTok videos where someone says like a banger of a line and then it cuts to like a sports highlight reel.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the TikTok where she does the whole LTW does the whole speech about complications of marriage and then goes, would you do it again? And Charlotte goes, absolutely. And then there's just like, boom, a highlight reel of like the Mets.
Yeah. The highlight of the scene.
It's so funny.
Highlight of the scene. So then we cut to Charlotte and Carrie walking. A lot of people clipped this moment here because it is funny, where Charlotte's like, I'm so excited to show you my new wallpaper. And then Carrie's like, I may be alone for the rest of my life. That is some classic Carrie. Can I say that is classic Carrie? Everybody else is just living a normal life, and then she's like, I might die alone. And everybody's like, girl.
Yeah.
Try to call him about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
And so then she sort of ponders, who will I be alone? I always thought that I would, that if I was alone, I wouldn't be alone for long. Then we get maybe the hardest, most painful slap in the face of this entire show. Made me pause, made me really scared. Where I was like, I am so glad we'll be done with this Hellfest. Because she's like, when Big died, after the devastation and the shock, I thought, maybe Aiden. Confirming, first of all, it's like it's I'm gonna explode. It's bad on two fronts. Okay, it's shitty on two fronts. One, Big left a big hole, apparently not big enough.
Yeah.
Two, Aiden is forever sloppy seconds. The fact that you're like, well, now that Big is dead, I guess I'll go crawling back to that guy.
Yeah.
Ew. If I was Aiden and I somehow like somebody like CCTV'd this and sent it to me, I'd be like, thank God I'm out here, with the cows in Virginia. I don't want to ever go back to New York. I just like,
it's horrifying.
The horror.
And just like the lack of any shame to treat these two men as like real people. You know what I mean? She's talking like Sarah Jessica Parker, trying to decide who she wants the character of Carrie Bradshaw to get together with.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? She's like talking about them as if they're like ships in a TV show. She's not talking about these are lived actual people that one of which you are married to.
Right. And I feel like, couldn't this be an opportunity to say like all three of these? Also, the fact that Duncan is now like elevated to be with these two is also crazy to me. That he's even in the same sentence. No offense to him, by the way. He's totally fine, but like, okay. And also just couldn't this have been a moment to be like, like my great two loves, which is like a reoccurring theme on this thing, like my great two loves, maybe they weren't so great after all. Both of them, not just the big one. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That would have
something.
been honestly awesome. If this was the moment where she was actually like, I keep talking about these two big loves, and I realized like maybe neither of them were my big love. Maybe like that's just not something that happened for me. I am the big love.
Right, exactly. That would have been fun. And that would have been really sick and transgressive, but we can't actually be transgressive on this show.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? It's sad because now that we've just had the wedding scene, it makes me think of it. It's like she's saying all of this to Charlotte, who ironically, of all of the women, main core plus side core, I guess LTW included. I'll include LTW. Charlotte is like the only one who actually did find her big love. Like she had another big significant relationship in her life, but like she found her big love. Like it happened. But no one seems Sarah Jessica Parker, I think like Carrie Bradshaw, whatever, Clarissa, whoever we want to call this person, can't like acknowledge that. It's only Carrie that can experience love that's that big and that serious. You know what I mean?
Right. Which is kind of crazy because Charlotte's thing has always been about finding her big love and getting married. And that's like her journey through the show, right? Is that like for a long time, she was looking for the perfect husband. She found that perfect husband. And then it resulted in Harry, who like on the surface isn't, the perfect Adonis, whatever, but like underneath is the perfect husband, right?
Right.
And so she gets that. And then everybody else, like, not settles, but like finds their way in balancing what their life is, like Carrie finds a way to balance with Big. Miranda finds a way to balance with Steve. Samantha, ascends to God tier with Smith Jared and then is pulled out of the sky for unknown reasons. But like, so yes, to your point, I do think that I don't know why we decided that marriage was the thing we should really land on in this episode when it should have been love. Like one of the famous quotes of this show is that there's like this famous scene where the four girls talk about how they're each other's soulmates, right? Like maybe your soulmates are your friends, which is something I really believe in actually, is that like, why does it have to be a romantic partner? Because to Sema's journey's point, what if you never find that person, like it's really a big expectation to put that on people, but like friends in theory, you could always find a connective tissue to somebody, a creative partner, a relationship, a friendship, something, you know what I mean? And so I think that's a much more beautiful egalitarian position. Instead, we land on like, Carrie alone, is it okay? Yeah, we've been cheering for it for a while now.
Yeah. It's like teaching us a feminism lesson as if we're all in like 1979.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And the speech that you just made was so much more poignant and beautiful. And like the fact that it also happens in Sex and the City, they have it. Like they just totally ignore it because they're doing this really boring, shallow thing instead.
Well, we end on another classic example of this show where Carrie's like, maybe instead of a man, maybe it's just me. And then Charlotte's like, you are so fabulous. And then she's like, well, that we already knew. And then the scene ends without any sort of genuine connection over this matter.
I hate it. I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
And just that like that.
they wrote that and they shot that thinking people were going to like giggle and clap and be like, yes, sister, you are fabulous to their TV screen. I mean, who do you think we are?
I know. Then we cut to LTW and Chris Jackson in bed, and we have this little vow renewal moment. And then he's like, I'll get over this. And then she's like, we'll get over this. And I'm like, was your marriage in trouble? I guess it was. And now it's not. Great.
No, not even. She says, it's weirder. She says, you will get over this. So it ends about him. Like, it doesn't even end about them.
Oh, see, I wrote a better line.
Yeah, you actually did.
That was my brain trying to like correct.
Yeah.
That is not great.
It's weird.
Rest in
That's
peace.
the last we hear from her.
It's crazy to me that 2 seasons in a row, they like rush in some drama right at the end that they barely resolve. Like last season, we had the miscarriage, which was like such a crazy plot to throw in the last 2 episodes and then resolve
immediately.
And then it's the same thing here.
Yeah.
Whatever. Then we got to Adam working the garden on Thanksgiving morning. Carrie's like, thanks so much for working on this day. And he's like, oh, whatever. It's just a Tuesday. And then she's like, oh, right. I forgot. You don't believe in traditions. A thing one says to another human. And then he's like, oh, yeah. Did you hear about that from Sema or whatever? And then Carrie's like, I just have one question. Is Sema just a normal Thursday? And then I thought it would have been funny if he had been like, no, she's Thanksgiving. Wouldn't that have been really funny? Instead, he goes, no, she's a lifetime. Okay. Boring.
She's Thanksgiving. That would make no sense and it would make me laugh.
Would it not get at like the whole thing and keep it mysterious and also be funny? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Why didn't you write this?
I know. I should have. I don't even celebrate Thanksgiving and I'm cracking them out here. And then Carrie's like, I want to return the garden to something more wild, more me. I'm like, all right. Are you going to put shoes in it?
And then Adam goes, you are so fabulous.
That's how every scene ends with Carrie in this episode. It's like, and by the way, you are so fabulous. Sarah Jessica Parker wishes. Okay.
Get her.
So then, Charlotte's working the turkey, and then Harry comes in and he's just like, oh, I'm hard. And then she's like, let's go. And then they run off to have sex, and then we get this weird like thing where Lily like sees them run away, and the dad's like, I'm going to be thankful, and then she like gets this knowing smile on her face.
Yeah, like, that's how I react if my parents ran past me being like, I'm gonna have sex, be right back. I would just smile wistfully and continue cleaning the dining ware. Yeah.
I'd be like, you silly guys. The same girl who screamed over getting her period, screamed over her polyamorous ballerina boyfriend dumping her. Like, would you not scream? Would that not be the Lily move?
Yes, that is exactly what happened. A big eye roll and like a big loud like, ugh, disgusting, mom.
Mom. Yes, that's what I want. Instead, Michael Patrick King is like trying to project like she's healing. She smiled. I'm like, okay, but no kid would smile at this.
Yeah. Least of all this lunatic.
I'm going to get R-rated here for a minute, okay? Trigger warning.
All right.
There was a period of time when my sister was living at home because she was in law school, and I was living at home because I was in high school, because we famously have a 7-year age gap. And she shared a wall with my parents. Mm-hmm. And every time that they would get down and dirty, she would run to my room, shake me awake, and go, they're doing it. Okay? And I know she did that because she had to like unleash the trauma on somebody, Like she was like, I can't be the only one sitting here over my torts book hearing this and not like share in the pain.
Yeah.
And so she would come and she would shake me awake and be like, girl, they're doing it. And I would be like, I don't want to know. That is normal. Okay? That is normal. Okay? What's happening here? Not normal.
Yours is also, can I say, much funnier. I do love the idea of like, it's like army training when they're like, or like they sirens going off and they're like, get out, you have to get dressed, whatever. It feels like that level of panic, except it's your sister telling you that your parents are doing it. It's like, I can't imagine waking up in the middle of the night like, why do I have to process this now? Why would you do this?
It was great. Then it became like a joke, you know what I mean? She'd come in, I'd be like, no, not again. Anyway, then we get a pie montage, one of many pie montages. Carrie grabs the pies, hat watch. It looks like a coaster. Emily just did a spit take. I'm proud of that. Okay. I'll take that to my grave. Literally saw you drinking the water and then spit it back in the cup. I was like, hell yeah.
That was disgusting.
Am I wrong?
No,
Does
that's
it not
exactly
look like one of those alpaca coasters you buy at Whole Foods?
Yes. Yes.
Thank
She put it on
you.
her head.
Put it on her head. And, but they did give her another tutu because that's her thing. Tutu. Okay.
Right.
We get another little scene from Jackie Hoffman where she's like, I'm so fucking exhausted. And I'm like, I'm exhausted of these cameos not going well. Okay. So first she drops off a pie at Charlotte. Now I'm going to take a quick tea here and say that on the Writers Podcast, Michael Patrick King said that he chose all the pies specifically for all the couples, that they all have these deep meanings that he went into. And I'm not going to fucking waste our time with that. Okay. Because that is some crap.
That's stupid. You know what's more fun? That scene in that song in Waitress where she's like making all the pies and like keeps giving them cheeky. She's having an affair with her gynecologist. It's a great movie and it's a great musical. Go watch it. But she's having an affair with the gynecologist. She keeps bringing him pie and then she names the pie after like different positions they're doing.
Yes.
That is Sex in the City to me.
Yes, exactly. And that's fun. Okay. So like what woman watching this show is rewinding being like, wait, which pie did she give Anthony? Okay.
These people are sick.
So she drops one off at Charlotte first, but Lily answers the door. This, I have to say, is one of the biggest crimes of this whole episode, which is that Carrie goes to pick up Charlotte's stuffing and Lily should have been like, she can't come right now to the door. She's getting stuffed herself. That should have been the fucking line. Are you kidding? That is the most Michael Patrick King line I could write.
Yes. It's such a layup that it becomes like, it's like if you had a layup, but instead you somehow hit the back blast like so it went back all the way across the court into your own basket. You know what I mean? It's like, buddy, you were right there. Why would you do this?
You have the word stuffing. She's getting stuffed.
I have come on.
That was really disappointing. On a Michael Patrick King level, that was really disappointing. But basically Carrie's like, okay, so no stuffing. I'm going to leave. Then, you know, she drops one off at LTW. Nothing really happens there because they don't have a relationship. Then she drops one off. I do like the drop off with Sema where it's like car to car.
Yeah, it's a drive-by.
It's a drive-by and it's a gluten-free pie. And I do like this moment where she's like, wait, are you wearing jeans? And then she's like, when in Rome? I think that's fun. That's where we should have kept the Sema Adam plot, is like her picking what jeans to wear to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that would have been fun and cute. And we don't have to introduce this other thing, but we need to set up her, you know, she needs to be in the bridal thing having thoughts, I guess. So whatever.
But wedding.
Can I say though, it is kind of a shame that the only thing, because this is again so late, that the only thing we really get to see of Sema and Adam's relationship is just Sema changing for him.
Yeah.
Not that I you know, compromises and little life changes like this are normal in a couple. I don't want to sound like too judgy or anything like that. It's just the only thing we've seen of them, so it's kind of sad.
I agree. Again, I feel like they should have spent the whole episode on that because that's her thing, is like, I won't change for a man. And then she's like, maybe I can compromise a little bit. And like, you know, it's sort of implied that the jeans are probably like $3,000 jeans, right? But like, it would have been good to like have that as text.
Yeah. That's,
you know what I mean? Cute. Like, I'll come in jeans, but they're going to be, you know, Gucci.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, or like if she didn't want to cave in on anything on their vegan turkey day, but like did one little small thing, you know, like that's like safe enough where that's like compromise, you know. Yeah, but yeah. I agree. I do think it's suddenly like, oh, she's totally cool changing for this guy, even though that's been her whole thing this entire time.
Anytime a guy asks her to do something and she goes, actually, I'm my own person. And then they start playing, This Is My Fight song. And she walks away. That's happened maybe 10 times. But now that we're with Adam, she's like, I'm in jeans.
I'm in jeans. He killed that guy on the OC. Or was it Misha? I forget. Somebody.
Misha killed.
Oh, Misha kills him. That's right. He dies.
What Just
Uh-oh.
saying.
So then she drops one off at Anthony, and then Anthony is like, yeah, sorry I had to cancel on Thanksgiving, but I just thought that I should bring up the whole thing with Giuseppe about how I feel about our relationship after a private dinner. And I was just sitting there being like, you couldn't wait till
After Thanksgiving?
Saturday? Like, but whatever. I guess we have to have a shoehorned in excuse for them not to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the Thanksgiving from hell.
Oh, no.
God.
We're already an hour in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Because we've been delaying this.
Yeah, because I just didn't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm going on a roll and you want me to stop, you just tell me to stop.
No. I just realized that it's like how much content has happened and we haven't even gotten to the big one.
The terror.
Yeah.
Yep. Out of fear. I'll say it. Okay. Carrie gets to Miranda's, and we find out that Joy is not coming because her dog is sick. And Brady's being pissy. He is pissy this entire episode. Any mileage they've made in making him kind of cool and relatable is gone. Carrie tells Miranda, like, why don't you actually just call Joy and make sure the dog is actually sick instead of assuming that the sickness is fake? And Miranda does have one good line here where she's like, why can't I just let this fester to the point of no return? Then we get a really weird edit where like Miranda goes to make the call, but then like 2 seconds later comes out. There's like a weird cut in here that every time like throws me off where like I don't know how much time has passed.
Yeah, something I think was supposed to happen in between and then like that got cut. You know, like we see Carrie go in to say hi to Brady and hug or something. There's like another shot and then Miranda comes out immediately after to be like, I just got off the phone.
Yeah, it's like very weirdly edited. But she comes out, we learn that the dog actually is having emergency surgery. And so Miranda's out of there. And so it's just Carrie and Brady. Carrie then puts out the cheese board of death, which will haunt over this whole episode. And Mamma Mia, finally somebody calls her Mamma Mia. Thank God. Comes with a whole Gen Z gang. Because if one Gen Z person wasn't enough, we need 16 of them.
I get it. If the show's ending, we need to have another one of these just to you know, say goodbye to this show's legacy. But why do we need 3?
Okay, but as a series finale, which they front is a series finale, like going on that logic for 2 seconds, like it's so weird to have this in here.
Yeah.
Like, you know who I want to see?
Bizarre.
Miranda and Charlotte and Carrie together.
Yes.
I don't want to see this gang of witches 3.
Yes.
That only serve to, again, mock the youth in an unfunny and unoriginal way.
Yes. The amount of airtime this sucks up is crazy. I mean, honestly, even if this was a season finale, this would be pretty unforgivable. This is crazy.
And also makes me so relieved that the show is over because you know that Mamma Mia would have been in every episode. That would have been Miranda's whole plot. And like, I kept thinking like, thank God this was killed because I cannot take any more of this.
Yeah. We'll never have to see them again.
This.
We'll never have to see them again. They can't hurt you.
Oh, they can't. They can't. They arrive and then Carrie opens the door and then Silvio, who we'll learn, who is the voguing one, just goes, she don't look crazy. Thinking it's Miranda.
It's funny because she's like in a tutu, but it's fine.
Yep. And then we learn that the other character's name is Epcot. And then they sort of roll their eyes and they're like, my family is a bunch of Disney freaks. This, I think, is actually funny. Okay. I think the conceit of this is funny, but they burn the joke into the ground. They say the word Epcot 5 times. They say Epcot like the center 4 times. I counted because it feels like a lot.
Yeah. They do this exchange that many times because that's the famous comedy rule is like, if we do this 5 or 6 times, it'll get funnier and funnier.
It's like you could do it just 3 times, but if you did it 18 times, it actually boosts the funny.
Yeah. No, you do it twice, and then the third person, someone goes, "Oh, Epcot, what a nice name," and doesn't say anything, and then everybody waits expectantly, but nothing happens.
Exactly. And then Carrie goes, like the center? Okay.
Yeah.
Sylvia walks in, sees Brady, goes, "Oh, he's a ginger? No, girl, bye."
Out loud to his face.
And then Brady's there, cucked in his own home. Because basically he's like, I'm working on the meal. It's going to take a minute. And they're all hungry. And then Carrie's like, well, there's a cheese board. And then Epcot can't have cheese because he's lactose intolerant. Silvio is like, yeah, hand me the cheese. And then Mia's like, sorry, I only eat cucumbers, brown rice, and seaweed. So do you have anything like that around? And Brady's like, no. And then she's like, well, you didn't really ask. So that's on you. And then Brady makes I know why they're doing this, because they want to set up the thing that he's got to leave and therefore the food isn't well cooked. But he goes to get the seaweed and the whatever for Mia. I'm like, isn't that a Carrie job? Isn't that a, hey, Carrie, can you go and get these random things for this random woman?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. It is why we end up with this insane situation where no one who lives in this house is in this house.
Right. But it's not a good enough excuse, is my point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why he's getting there. I'd be like, well, good luck.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at that point, I'm sorry, I would have been mean. I would have been like, well, sorry. We didn't prepare it. All right, you can leave if you want. I don't know. Why did you bring these other two knuckleheads? I mean, is this a Gen Z thing? Is going to random strangers' Thanksgivings? Come on.
I think it was planned, but you bring up an excellent point, which is like, who are these people? Like, we never get somewhat of an explanation of like, oh, well, Epcot designs my logos for my wellness app, and Silvio's a random guy I met. Like, that would be funny.
Nothing.
You know,
she just shows up with friends.
She just shows up with friends who just decide that this is their party and we're just living in it. Young people, am I right?
Young people doing their young thing.
And then Mark Kasabian appears. Fucking pour one out for Victor Garber. He did not deserve this.
No, he did not.
So Brady decides to go get the seaweed and the whatever. And so he tells Carrie and Victor to keep an eye on the turkey, which is a poor decision because neither of them cook. And so they like go back to the couch or whatever. And Silvio's like, oh, who's this man looking like the mayor of Whoville? And then Mark Sabian's like, I'm just going to open this wine. I mean, they did make a Thanksgiving from hell. I'll give them that.
Yeah, but there's such an easy way to make a Thanksgiving from hell. You know what I mean? You just make it a normal Thanksgiving. Like this this is such an insane reach to have like, what if we have two crazy characters who say rude things out loud to people's faces and vogue nonstop and then have like volcanic shits.
And you know that it's because season 2 ended with the big meal of them all together. And so they were like, we can't do that again. So instead we'll do this literal shit show. And it's like, I'm only suffering as a viewer. I don't even know that I'm laughing.
It could have still been a Thanksgiving from hell. Like it could have been a Thanksgiving with all the characters we love, but things have been boiling up over the season and they come to a head in this dinner and we have a Thanksgiving from hell where things go wrong. I don't know. Like you could have had it, but that would have required like setup and, you know, effort and work. And why do that when we can just throw in some Gen Zers and call it a day?
And call it a fucking day. Then we cut to Joy at Bond Vet, product placement. And Miranda shows up and, you know, there's a very genuine moment here where she's like, they said that the surgery is easy. My dog will be okay. But I had to sign the waiver that says if something happens, it's not their fault, which like we've all had to sign that waiver. And it is really scary because it reminds you that like, I don't know, like every time I've had to do surgery for something, you sign that waiver that says like you could die. And it's very scary.
Yeah.
You know, too bad it's in this episode. And then we find out that the dog ate a Lego from the park, and that's why she hates kids. And then we learn that the dog is okay. Yay!
Yay!
As if they would kill a dog. By the way, somebody brought up that whole thing about Shu and the poison in the apartment that we never closed a loop on. So
the threat is still there.
The threat is looming. Then we cut back to Thanksgiving where Carrie and Mark are checking the turkey. They have no idea what to do. Mark is bragging about how his East Hampton house is perfect. It just needs somebody to share it with. Again, Carrie's like, end me. And then Charlotte appears with the stuffing this moment's really cute because she's like, Harry got hard, so we had sex. And she's whispering. And then Carrie's like, I'm going to kill you. And then she's like, Mark, she's like, why? She goes, because we had sex. That's what it is. And then she goes, Mark Kasabian. And then Charlotte goes, fuck, I forgot to disinvite him. And runs in. Hilarious. Actually funny. You know why? Because it's characters that I care about interacting.
Wow. Are you telling me? Are you
Wow.
telling me the secret to good scenes and good comedy is characters be like interacting like in the same room instead of like off on their own adventure every episode? Are you
And also,
telling me
like,
that?
Charlotte would do this. Charlotte would hear her thing about dying alone and be like, let me set her up with some guy who's got a plane. Like, yes.
Yes.
That's what I want to see. I don't want to see Epcot eating cheese.
No, but what if we make the conflict? What if we made the embarrassing conflict, let's add another character who eats the cheese? What if we do that? Isn't that easier?
That's so much easier. So much easier.
So much easier.
So then, you know, as Mark is taking the turkey out of the oven, Carrie and Charlotte go into Miranda's bedroom to talk, and Carrie berates her for trying to set her up with Mark. And then Charlotte does her thing where she's like, I want you to know that there is a man out there. He has a plane. And Carrie basically is like, ew, no, never. Then the voguing starts.
Good. Great. That's just what we needed. That's just what we needed.
It is kind of funny. It is kind of funny when Miranda comes home and just sees this man dancing. I love the way that Miranda goes, hi, I'm Miranda, to him and puts her hand out while he's like fully doing like, yet. And then she's like, and you are? And he goes, still starving, girl. It's like, I don't want you in this show, but at least
this would have hit so much harder if these were characters we like knew, and you know what I mean? Like if this was just like an actual joke from someone we knew.
Yeah, like if these had been the gallerinas that we had loved from all seasons, and like one of them gets high on drugs and does this. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have dug for that, you know?
Yeah.
But in any case, Miranda appears, as I said, and we learn from Brady that the turkey is raw because Carrie and Mark are dumb. And then we get this little sort of circular moment where he notices that Mia is eating the cheese. And he's like, wait, are you eating cheese? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, I thought you didn't do that. And she was like, okay. And then he's like, well, I went to go get seaweed and all that shit for you. And she's like, that's on you, dude. No one asked you to do that. And at this point, I'm enraged.
Yeah. At this point, they're getting kicked out of the house. I don't care if you're carrying my baby. You're getting out of this house.
And then I like how Silvio's like, oh, like to Miranda, he's like, she doesn't seem that crazy either. And then Brady's like, she is crazy. This is all crazy. And then Mia goes off on him and defends Miranda and is like, hey, she's doing something nice. I would never disrespect my mom like that. And then he's like, you mean the mom you blocked on Facebook? And then she's like, I told you that in confidence. And we're like, okay, like, what is this?
This is the season finale. We have 8 major characters and we are spending time on this.
But also, this doesn't come to any resolution because it's not like Brady's like, hey, mom,
I'm sorry.
Sorry that I freaked out.
No.
Or like, you know, Brady, I know I put you through a lot today, but like you took it on the chin and you made a great meal and like I'm proud of you. Like whatever it is. Like, so we don't even get a conclusion from this other than Carrie later on being like, well, Mia's really warming up to you. She defended you. I'm like, I would not count that as a defense.
No. It also it again is unearned because she just like kind of mocked Brady for doing something nice for her, and then when someone mocks the mom, she's like, hey, don't do that. She's trying to do something nice for you. It's like, well, Brady was just trying to do something nice for you. I just don't buy that she suddenly has this 180 on this woman who she like threw water at last episode.
Who like stormed into her place of work and like was a little crazy. No offense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I thought the whole thing, like on the writers podcast, they really talk about how it's this like culmination. I'm like, culmination of what? Where?
These people do not understand that, like, you can't just say, oh, They love payoff. They love to say it's a culmination of this thing. They love to have payoff scenes and then never put a setup.
No.
They do not understand that if you just, it shortened your scene. If you don't put it on screen, it didn't happen. We didn't see it.
No setup and then no resolution half the time, because then we are interrupted by Epcot being like, hey, where's your bathroom? I need it. And then being like, that cheese is no joke. And I'm like, the cheese is not funny.
It's no. What? We had no idea what to do for a joke. Come on, it's Thanksgiving. This is like such easy material to have like conflict over, and this is what we're doing?
You have 18 different characters. Like, figure it out.
Yeah, come on. Earn your HBO check, my God.
So then we cut to the end of Thanksgiving. So we don't even see the meal, which, okay.
What's the point of this, Marina?
And we see that they have dined and ditched. All the Gen Zers ate everything and ran away, which is some sort of statement about Gen Z that I don't know.
I'm so glad we spent so much time on them.
Yeah. To again have no payoff, because then Miranda's like, well, Brady's going to stay with his dad tonight, so I guess that's where I'm at. And it's like, isn't the whole point of Thanksgiving, like, despite the horrors of our family, we come together?
Yeah, that's
like,
how you're supposed to be ending.
Whole point? Like, shouldn't we end on that? Like, shouldn't we end on that image or something of her being like, keep the diarrhea, which we'll get to in a minute, right? Like, don't get rid of the diarrhea, but like some sort of peaceful moment between her and Brady and Mamma Mia to be like, hey, maybe this could work out, you know, maybe. Instead, I'm like, God, Miranda's going to live with this for the rest of her life. What a nightmare.
This is a horror I wish on no one.
I'd also like to say that she has the line that she decided to keep the baby because it was a double Libra. And Michael Patrick King points out on the Writers Podcast, he's like, yeah, somebody's going to point out that, like, because we're at Thanksgiving, we're past Libra season. So that isn't true. And like, whatever. And I was like, whatever. Come on, dude, just pick the December one.
Yeah, that was so easy. If you knew the Thanksgiving episode was going to be your finale, why wouldn't you pick the December one?
Just pick Capricorn and get it over with. Like, a double Capricorn is also as much fun as a double Libra. I don't know.
Sorry to sound like a broken record, but again, we said this a couple episodes ago or whatever, just like, it's so hard for me to care about anything in the show when the people behind the camera clearly don't care.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do?
So then Carrie goes on her little mini rant because Mark goes to the bathroom and he's like, Charlotte tried to set me up with him because he has a plane, even though he's been married 3 times. And like, I bet you he's going to come out of that bathroom and he's going to ask to take me home. And then she does have this little funny line where she's like, my new relationship is exhausting because she's been having to manage Mark all day. And then the flood of turds. This is where I would like you to go on your rant about how this is not how toilets work. Because as we know, Mark comes out and explains that the toilet is over flooded. First of all, like, we've all been there. We've all been there with the scary rush of water that doesn't seem to stop. Okay. Relatable moment. Apparently, allegedly, a relatable moment they have been trying to put in the show since Sex and the City. They wanted Carrie to flush her tampon and couldn't find a way to put it in, but they managed to get it in. Season 3 finale. Anyway, so
what I want is the documentary of this discussion. Like, I want, through the years, them discussing how they're going to get this like turd scene and how it changes over time and how does it end. You know what I mean? It's like, if they pitch it multiple times, who's the one that strikes it down and goes, no, we're not doing this today? You know what I mean? Like, who wins the battle but loses the war? And then we culminate in this where they finally triumphantly have some turds on screen. I want that documentary, the tell-all. I do. And then Mark comes out and he's like, I want to be clear, it's not my poop. Because it's like, we can't tarnish Victor Garber. So he's like, it's not my poop. It's definitely Epcot's poop, but it's flooding everywhere. And I didn't even think about this, but you brought up something that was illuminating to me. If you could share it now with the American public. Because so obviously, as Marina said, it's like the point of this is to just have the horrifying visual of actual fake, like, poop coming rushing out of the toilet and then flooding all over the bathroom. A nightmare. But like, this is not how toilets work. Like, it's not like the big chamber in the back of the toilet like holds the poop. You know what I mean? Like, it goes into the sewer. Okay, like if your toilet has ever been clogged and you have to lift up the thing and move the thing, you know, it's not just like a big chamber of poop in there, but like the fact that the poop is left over from someone who has left hours ago tells me that it's like, okay, so either you don't know how the toilets work, or this is rushing in sewer water from like the New York City sewer, and it's
In
like
which case it's anybody's poop.
it's anyone's guess. This could be from anywhere. It's like the whole building's, I don't know. It's like this is not, it doesn't just like get saved around anywhere. Also, you also pointed out that the water is like crystal clear.
Yeah, it's like really clear, and then turds bubble up, and then suddenly brown comes in. But to your point, like I didn't even think about this when I saw it, but like, yeah, how is poop from 2 bodies ago coming back up the toilet?
Yeah.
The only poop that could come back up is poop that did not flush.
Yes.
If it's successfully flushed, it's in the ocean.
Yeah.
We know this. The fish are eating it. We know this.
Yeah. There should be fish coming out of the toilet.
So how is it, to your point, tenant style coming back up through the toilet bowl and ricocheting out to the bathroom? What kills me is I am in tears laughing over this right now, and that's how they thought I would react to this scene, but that is how I'm reacting to their illogic and their inability to conduct a shit scene.
Yeah.
That is 10 times funnier.
That's a very good way to put it. Is like, they're like, this joke is gonna kill, and we're like, no, you know what's really funny is that you have backwards tenant poop
shooting out of the toilet. It's just so stupid. And when you said, you're like, I don't think that's how toilets work, I was like, you're right. And then I was like, it's so weird that they have Mark come out and be like, it's not my poop, never my poop. Like,
I'm like, you have bigger problems. What is this? Where did this come from? That's a nice.
And then of course he's like, I'll see myself out. And then we get the horrific cap to this whole thing where Miranda's like, what is my life? My life was so carefree and easy. And like, now here I am cleaning other people's poop, which like, ew. And then Carrie's like, hey, shit happens.
Oh, God.
I couldn't be more angry because it was like, that's how you're going to end this show. That's how you're going to end this show, with shit happens. You're going to end it with a line from the 1997 film Showgirls. Shit happens. You live your life by mottos worn on t-shirts. That's what the character says. Yeah. And that was a better one. Here it's just like, hey, shit happens. Carrie, go die and go back to your fiction set in 1846.
Where they didn't have indoor plumbing. And they shat in a hole, and then it's tenant style rocketed back up their petticoat. And she's like, this isn't mine.
Oh, God.
I want to remind the people at home that the reason that we even started this podcast was because of this show first debuted. The writers were defensive and said that people didn't like it because they're too protective of the Sex and the City characters. That's what they assume all the criticism is of. That people can't let go of the past and like are too protective of the characters. That is what they think is the problem with the show. And then there's this. Shit happens.
I can't.
I just want to like... I want to talk to these people. I want to talk to them directly. And I want to recommend other careers for them. And I want to let them also go use the bathroom in my house and let them observe how the toilet works.
Oh, God. This is where I have to give the PSA that everybody who hasn't seen Tenet should. And then that reference will make a lot of sense.
How do they poop?
How do they poop? They're going
That's all I'm
backwards.
saying.
How do they poop? It goes back in the hole? Okay.
They don't talk about it.
And
that's all I can think about. All right, sorry. We're done. We're done with the... I'm just going to be thinking about that.
And then we get the worst thing of all, which, as I said, where Carrie's like, hey, look on the bright side. Mia really came around to you. And I'm like, where, girl?
Where? And
then Joy shows up. And again, in a vacuum, this is a really tender moment, but...
Miranda has biohazard all over her hands.
But like, even putting that aside, like, I love that Joy comes in and like Miranda's in the shit and she gets in the shit with her. And then she's like, you spent Thanksgiving with my family. I'm here to spend Thanksgiving with yours. And it's like, first of all, you're too late because they all left.
They all left.
Terrible. Congratulations. Second of all, this is disgusting biohazard.
Yeah.
And third, I have been through a litany of horrors that I am no longer touched by this moment.
Yes, exactly. It has been destroyed by all of which that came before it.
And then Carrie gets her pie and leaves. And then we end on the ending montage
All right.
of this series,
Of this series, of this franchise, Marina.
of this franchise, which is everybody in their own way eating their pie that they received from Carrie. So Carrie gets home and she doesn't take her shoes off because Duncan's not coming back. And she turns on the karaoke machine to this like old soul song that I forget the name of, and I don't care. And wistfully looks around her apartment. Very Carrie. Then we cut to Anthony and Giuseppe is like, so you're having a problem with me because you think that I'm treating you like my mommy? And Anthony's like, yeah. And then Giuseppe's like, well, there's only one answer to that. And then he picks up the pie and he slams it in his face. And honestly, great resolution because this plot was dumb anyway and I didn't believe it. So
I forgot that this was ever a problem. I guess Anthony must have said something last episode about this, but
he did, yeah. But he
I've
introduced
already
it last
forgotten it.
episode.
Yeah.
So
I've already forgotten that this was a problem that they were having because people just tell us things that are happening off screen and we never get to see it because the writers aren't very interested in like writing TV. And then we just have an excuse to do a pie in someone's face, and it doesn't work with any of the other couples, so we've made it these two, and then it's done, and that's how we say bye to Anthony. God,
yeah, I know. I think what drives me the most crazy is that on the Writers Podcast, one of Michael Patrick King's refrains is like, you always want to end the scene with the metaphorical pie in the face. You know, somebody's got to get pied every episode. And so I think that's what this is an allusion to. To your point, they literally went through the couples. They're like, who can get the pie in the face? Oh, Anthony. And so they're like, oh, nod to Michael Patrick King. Somebody literally getting the pie in the face. And even talks about how he chose a chocolate cream pie specific because that's really the funniest one to get in the face. And it's like, how you have I cannot wait for you to see Anthony at his peak in Sex and the City. You are literally going to be like, who is this man? I would hang out with this guy. I would never hang out with this guy.
My God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
A man with taste, a man who got shit done, a man who was a little crazy and a little rude sometimes, but that was his style, you know? And now he's getting pied in the face by a baby. Terrible. Then we get to Charlotte's house. This was the wrap up that really pissed me off, okay? Because Rock's whole thing all season long has been community, mom. We got to stand in for the community. We got to do what's right. And then we end on this note of like, Mom, just so you know, I'm going to be a lot of people in my life, which sort of wraps up the like the they them plot of it all. But like, shouldn't that have been like that the whole thread of this season with Rock?
Yes.
Is like every time we see them, they're like in a different costume.
Yes.
And maybe it's like more and more masculine. And then we end with the topper of Modern Millie and that whole moment, which is really precious.
Yes.
And then Rock being like, Mom, I'm going to be playing many parts. I'm going to be many people. That's who I am. Wouldn't that have been the nice culmination of this season? Instead of like, we have to give a banana to 2F because community matters. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, yeah. I completely agree. An absolute waste of what could have been a genuinely heartwarming plot that I also haven't seen before, like, for the record. You know what I mean? Like, but no, right. I mean, we don't just set up on the show. What are you talking about, Marina? Get out of here.
We don't do that. We don't do that.
We don't plan things.
But they end all together happy looking at pictures of Rock from Thoroughly Modern Millie. So I guess
I forgot the rule. Why does Lily get to take pictures, but Charlotte can't?
I mean, in the Writers Podcast of last episode, they were saying like kids make up these rules sometimes that don't make any sense. It's like, as a parent, you have to follow them. So like Rock didn't want Charlotte taking any pictures and like, you just have to follow them. And then we get the subversion here because we find out that like Lily was allowed to take pictures and took millions and like, it doesn't matter, Mom, it's fine. And it's like, but then why did you ban her? It doesn't matter. The show is over. Literally, they were like, don't think about it. The show's over. Again, I would have loved, instead of the crazy tap dancing and the whatever, I would have loved to have seen Rock in like crazy different costumes, trying crazy different, you know, characters, like maybe they're goth one day or something. Cause I think that also speaks to like teens.
Yeah.
I came across this TikTok of this like big parenting influencer that I see all the time. And she like talks about, she like did kind of like a sketch video with herself where she like plays her daughter and herself. And so she, as the daughter, like walks in and has like literally circle pink blush and like black raccoon eyes and is like, I'm going to school. And she's like, are you sure you're going to school? And then she's like, maybe you should bring a blending brush. You know what I mean? And then she like flashes back to her mom yelling at her.
Yeah.
And the caption was something like, kids experiment and like you want to let them wear the crazy makeup.
Yeah.
Because maybe instead of you yelling at them, aka other kids will yell at them.
Yeah.
Like let peer pressure solve your problems. And two, like let kids explore themselves and like, wouldn't that have been fun? And so that's what the scene, it's literally 30 seconds and it made me irate.
Yes.
Irate.
Yes. Agreed. Could agree more. Could not agree more. Emphatically.
Then we cut to LTW and Chris Jackson in the kitchen. He can eat pie. And
stupid.
And then LTW goes to clean up and he's like, no, you put your feet up. I've got this mess. And then she's like, you got this mess. I'm like, I don't like where this marriage is going, but it's over. So I don't
hate
care
this.
anymore.
I hate this.
Chris Jackson, get out, man. Get out.
And then a man learns to do a chore. You've got this.
God. It's like, again, was the thing we were working towards like, I think what they wanted to do is like these two characters have their extracurriculars and his extracurricular outshined hers. Mm-hmm. Like his came first and then he lost and now he's learning to put her first. None of that happened though. Nope. I see the skeleton remains in the sand, but like
they're trying to give us the payoff of that plot, but they forgot the setup of that. They forgot to show us the plot.
Carrie eats the pie with a spoon and dances around because she's going to die alone.
What a miserable end on it's so sad that I think the worst, most insulting thing you can reduce Carrie to is a cliche. And just making an older woman do this I'm dancing on my own in my empty house cliche. Her ending is so pathetic. That's so sad.
And they thought it was so transgressive being like, she's alone. She can eat it with a spoon. It's like, yeah, we've all been there.
Who cares? Yeah. My God.
I know, so sad. Then we get to Sema and Adam and they're eating the gluten-free pie. And Sema's like, I don't miss the gluten. And I guess that's her saying she doesn't need to get married. Great. Congrats.
Wait a second. Why is her thing even in this episode? We talked about how it's dropped out of nowhere, but why is her thing marriage? And then her final ending is well, I guess I can live without marriage. And we find out during the bridal fashion show that she's always been primed for marriage. But honestly, Sema's whole character this far doesn't really feel like it's about marriage. She seems much more concerned with finding her big one true love.
Right.
So I actually love the idea of her being am I changing for a man? No, actually, I think I am genuinely in love with him. You know what I mean? Maybe last episode she says I love you and then is oop, did I say that too soon? Do I actually love him? I feel weird.
Right.
And then this episode, she buys the jeans and she's like, wait, what am I doing? Am I changing for a man? No, I'm not, actually. I'm just doing a thing that I think my man will appreciate and will make him happy. I actually do love him. And then that's the end. It's
and then I don't miss the gluten.
I don't miss the gluten.
Again, it's all of these plots, they film them beautifully. They have put them here at the end beautifully. They all ring hollow.
Yeah.
They all are just I'm glad we've left the characters here. They didn't leave the characters in a bad place, thank God. Yeah. Turd aside. But you're writing the fan fiction as I'm sitting here because none of this happened.
Yeah, no. Yeah, absolutely. They're writing the fan fiction. My God.
And then Miranda and Joy just literally just eat pie. They're just this is good. Lemon. Wow.
How do you feel about Miranda's last line of the Sex and the City franchise being that's a good one?
God, I saw on the socials, everybody had their first line and their last line. And it was like the picture of them on the first episode and then the picture of them, whatever. And I was like, ain't that depressing? And the most depressing one of all is, I don't remember what Samantha's last line was, but it was like, obviously, it was her cameo from season 2 where she's like,
Yeah.
I forget what she says exactly, but she's like, ta-ta or whatever. And I was like, she's the only one that's good here.
Yeah. I mean, she made it. She made it. She escaped.
God bless Kim Cattrall.
God bless.
God bless our troops. Okay. Then we end with Carrie at the computer with Shu. She deletes the epilogue and writes a new line, which is, the woman wasn't alone. She was on her own. And then, well, I'll get into the last scene in a minute. Let's just talk about that first, which is, okay, I'm not totally against maybe not ending the book with her hoping for a man. Fine. Especially because that's how she ended her last book with Big's death. You'll remember that the editor was like, go on a date, show the women there's hope, right? But I'm like, the woman alone in the garden or whatever, I already know she's alone. Shouldn't she just like add that as the last line to the last chapter or something?
Yeah, this epilogue is just repeating what the last chapter was.
And now the epilogue is just weird. Like and then I was just distracted by that.
Yeah.
Where I was like, it's like ending a book with like, she sat there, the woman sat in the garden, glanced around at the home she had built, fortified herself, and took a sigh of relief, knowing it was hers. Epilogue. The woman wasn't alone. She was on her own. It's like, yeah, I fucking got it.
Yeah. Her editor is literally going to send her back and be like, you didn't do anything I asked. You gave me the same ending again. I know.
Right. I was like, I feel like she should have just like deleted the whole epilogue and then gone to the last chapter or whatever and then added this line.
Yes.
I do like this line. I think this line is nice. And like done that and been like, yeah, she's doubling down, you know? And then we have the last shot, which I didn't think anything about. When I watched it both times, I was like, Carrie dances in front of a mirror awkwardly. She's alone, I guess. And the series ends. At least they didn't do any more damage. Okay. That's what I thought both times. Then I listened to the writer's podcast and Michael Patrick King is like, it's the vintage mirror. It's the old vintage mirror. And there's something about it where it's Carrie now. It's Carrie from Sex and the City. It's the woman. And in the light of the vintage mirror, they all come together and combine as one.
Okay. My question for you is, what do you think happened? And then also, which do you think is worse? Scenario A, he scripted it like this and like, or found the mirror and like planned it and put it in this shot and wrote the shot. And he had this all planned from the beginning, just like he's talking about with this like really clunky, lazy, terrible metaphor. Scenario B, it was just a shot of her dancing in the house and he wants to make it sound like the last shot is much more meaningful than it is. So on the podcast, he is BSing on the spot like a kid who didn't read the book for the book report.
Okay. I think it's option A, because on the writer's podcast, they will not shut up about how Carrie filled her writing room with artifacts of the vintage times because she's a real author, capital R, capital A, which was a detail I did not care to notice. So I was like, I think they actually like put a lot of work into like this vintage mirror, which feels very out of place. And it doesn't feel like a random shot to me. Also because we see her like exit and then we like hold for like 3 seconds or whatever. And then we cut to black. That feels intentional to me. And so that's what I thought it was communicating is like Carrie dances and off she goes to live her life as her fabulous self, right? You are so fabulous, Carrie. Mm-hmm. That's what she says in the mirror. Her reflection goes, you're fabulous, Carrie. I didn't pay attention to the vintage mirror part because I don't take her book seriously. I have to be honest. So because I don't take her book seriously, I didn't think about that at all. So unfortunately, I do think it's option A. I actually will believe that it was intentional.
The last shot of Sex of the City was, I believe, Carrie walking through the streets. She gets a call from Big. We find out his
Yes.
name
It's
is
like she looks at the
John.
phone. We see John on the phone, and then he's like, "How are you, kid?" And then we see her back, like as she walks into New York, which like is so much more Sex in the City,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like Carrie, a citizen of New York, a voice of New York, disappears into the
Mm-hmm.
crowd, the
Into the
city
city.
that is of sex, you know?
Yeah, I think it. Yes, yes. I think it's like it. In some ways, it's a perfect encapsulation of so many differences with Sex in the City and Just Like That, where Sex in the City, like, she's out and about in New York, walking around most of the time. And here, she's just in her house or like at brunch with girls or walking very slowly for like half a block. But we don't really see them like out and about in the same way. They go to very exclusive events sometimes, but I don't really feel like that's like out in New York in the way that we do with Sex in the City, where they're like, you know, Miranda's walking around with that giant Dwayne Reed bag and like they find a random piece of grass to get married on. You know, there's interactions with the city that doesn't happen at all and Just Like That. Everyone's
Well,
in
because
their own little
everything's a set
castle
now.
and like not in the city. Yeah, and it shows and it sucks. I mean, it makes the whole thing feel very claustrophobic and empty and sad. I mean, it doesn't feel like New York at all. Like none of the people were real. The city doesn't feel real. It's just it's sad. And you know, there's something really wonderful I think about living in New York and like even as a kid growing up in it that like I could just walk around by myself like unsupervised from a very young age. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to friends' houses, I'm going to school, I'm coming back from school when I was like very young. And like that was just kind of a big part of my experience that I very much took for granted until I like started to, you know, go to college or meet other people and be like, "Oh yeah, no, that is actually a weird thing." Like how sort of
Yeah.
free you are to just like wander. Or if you're like in the mood to go to the park, you're like, yeah, I'll just wander even though I'm like 12. You know what I mean? Like that's such a New York thing. And I think there's something really refreshing about Carrie being a character who just like walks alone in the city. You know, like she is someone I imagine would sit down at a brunch place that looks cool and just have brunch by herself. I think she is someone that like would wander into a store by herself and go shopping by herself and like be alone. And like it's so ironic that that is so much more convincing than this and Just Like That version of Carrie that is trying to preach about how like she's not alone, she's on her own. And I'm like I don't really see her being on her own carefree in the way that she used to be actually. I don't think she believes this philosophy at all and Just Like That
I
Carrie.
actually think you raise a really good point, and it kind of dovetails into what I wanted my final thing on this to be, which is that Michael Patrick King on the Writers Podcast talks about how he always, after Sex and the City ended, went back and forth on whether she should have ended up with Big or ended up alone. And it always bothered him that, you know, she has the last line, which is like, you know, that you love yourself, you know, for who you are. And if you can find someone who loves you for the you are, then that's just fabulous, right? That something along those lines is the final lines of Sex in the City. And he always sort of doubted that second line. Like he always went back and forth thinking, should we just have ended it on, you know, if you love the you are, like that's what you should be doing. That's not the line, but you know my point.
Yeah.
And so then here he wanted to sort of right that wrong and have her end up alone, which you and I have spoken many times. I think makes a lot of sense. I'm 100% behind. Love it. Right. Of all the echoing that they've done this season, would it not have been more fun to have her sort of echo that finale where she go, you know, because that's how the finale is like she's with the four women, they walk out together, and then she's solo walking and calls Big, and then she disappears into the crowd. And instead here it's like she comes home from Thanksgiving and then walks through the city and sees like a table and sits down at it by herself. And then like maybe her phone rings and it's Miranda or it's Samantha and she picks it up and we close. And it's like life goes on, the city goes on, like, but in a new way, as opposed to she's a hermit. She's in her house, the woman. It's like,
Yeah.
but none of us
Yep.
are tracking the woman because none of us like her.
Yes.
Because it's like a
Yeah.
thing you have forced on me. And it's like, they're trying to always have their cake and eat it too, where they're like, this is not Sex in the City. She's not writing columns. She doesn't have a voiceover. But at least the podcast like was the next evolution of that in a way that made sense to me. Whereas like this woman business comes out of nowhere. And to your point, it ultimately really detaches her from the key ingredients that are this show when we've already lost so many key ingredients to things we wanted to lose them to or not, you know? And so I think that's why it's sort of like, again, all these plots feel a little hollow, but this one in particular feels a little hollow because it's like, I'm not reading into that vintage mirror because I don't care. What I would read into is her giving back to New York, a thing you have tried to shove down my throat with the pie woman and the bodega guy, but you won't get me. You won't get me.
No. You won't get me. I love that pitch you just gave for an alternate ending shot and scene. Fabulously improved. So much more on theme. So much more believable and interesting. I would have loved the idea if she picked up the call or dialed someone and then started talking. We don't even know who it is. It's just it's a friend. And the camera just is backing up and we just see her at this cafe chatting with a friend on the phone or something. I think it's a wonderful mirror to how Sex and the City ended and like a right of the
talking
wrong
about
that MPK is so tortured about.
Which I think is fair, right? I think if I was him too, I go back and forth on that all the time with myself when I watch the show, because I do like the big ending, whatever. Well, we're free. The curse is lifted because they got canceled. So America voted and they voted for Gilded Age. And so this show was canceled. Hate to say it. Hate to say it. That's my conspiracy theory, but I'm running with it.
America voted for Gilded Age. Now we're going to have to start watching Gilded Age out of a thank you for And Just Like That. No, we won't.
And that show's good. You don't need to hear us shit on it. Okay.
Yeah.
For our last time with And Just Like That, we end our podcast as we end all our podcasts. Don't worry. We will come back and watch Sex in the City, to be clear. But with And Just Like That, this is our final diarrhea and our final Release the Kraken. Can you believe it?
My God.
Emily, we'll start with the negative. What is your final diarrhea, aptly named, of this episode?
There's so much. I think I know which one you're going to do. I think for me, it's going to be of the 3 random musketeers that come to Thanksgiving. I think it's going to be the one that's voguing the whole time because that feels like a hate crime to just be like, this one is the one that's gay. And what do gay people do? They vogue and are rude.
I won't even get into the like internalized homophobia that is that, which is just like, and then we'll spruce it up with just some gay man. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the turds for me. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Close second is the rock thing where it's like, I'm going to be many people in my life, Mom. Like, shut up. Okay. I would have loved to believe that. I would have loved to buy into that. And unfortunately, I never will. What was your Release the Kraken of this episode?
It was specifically Steve's line going,
yeah, oh my God.
You? When Miranda says
so
the bipolar
good.
Thing.
So good.
Very funny.
I think for me, it'll have to be the exchange with Carrie and Charlotte at the door where she's like, we had sex. And then she's like, I'm going to kill you. And she's like, because we had sex. And then hearing Charlotte go, fuck, is so funny to me.
Yeah. Her swearing.
I think it's apt
funny.
that we both chose original characters for our Release the Kraken, and then both of our negatives were new elements that were introduced. LOL. Hilarious.
Very well put. Can I do a bonus Release the Kraken for Charlotte doing a lovely accidental button on the wedding fashion show scene of her going, would you get married again after all that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
MVP of this episode.
Not
MVP
a care in the world
episode.
for her. Yeah. It's funny. Before we wrap, I actually have a present for you. And a present for everyone that has made it thus far.
Oh my God. I can't wait.
As someone who has watched the most And Just Like That in history, more than the writers and more than the creator and more than the main actress. I'm going to give you a short quiz of it just like that history, and I want to see how much you remember.
Stop. I'm ready.
All right. I've got 10 questions.
Oh my God. I'm sweating. I'm fired up. It's 10 questions. Okay.
10 questions.
I'm ready. I'm cracking my neck. Let's go.
Some of these are like, this is absurdly hard. I don't know how she's going to get it, but I think it's funny. If you get it, I'm going to shit myself. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Number 1. What is the podcast producer's name?
Oh, fuck. Oh. Franklin?
Yes,
because he's the turtle.
Franklin the turtle.
Franklin the turtle.
Hey, it's Franklin.
Like a dumb name.
Good job. Fantastic. All right. Off to a good start. Number 2. What is the name of Che Diaz's show?
X, Y, and Me.
Oh, no, sorry, that they're shooting a pilot for.
Che Pasa?
Yes. Oh, my God. Fantastic. Wow.
I am unwell. This is my mental
I'm very
illness.
impressed. I'm really impressed you got that one. Okay. Who is the guest star on Che Pasa?
Tony Danza?
Yes, good. Excellent. The fastest one so far.
The lasagna, come on. I'm still waiting for that t-shirt to come in the mail.
When will our viewers send that in? All right, 3. This is impossible, but I will let you if you just give me the general subject.
Okay.
What does Naya teach / what is Miranda getting a degree in?
Oh, fuck.
I'll take half credit for a general subject, but what is her?
I mean, it's like international human rights, right?
That's close enough. Yeah. It's policies and principles of humanitarian law.
Oh, yeah. Humanitarian law. Oh, God, I forgot that it was like legal.
Yeah,
because
she's
they
a law
don't even talk about it.
Exactly. She's a law professor. It's a legal degree. Isn't that insane?
That is insane. Give me a half point for that.
Yeah, that's a half. That's a half. All right. 5. What event was Carrie going to in the blizzard?
Oh, WidowCon.
Excellent. Good work. Okay, this one you're gonna have to give me an answer, and I'm gonna have to fact check it on the spot because I actually don't know. Besides the miscarriage, can you name another plot LTW had in season 2?
Okay. Hang on. I'm gonna word vomit for a minute. They had the tennis episode.
And I'm going to Google it to see if it's what season.
The school. Was it this season that the list of the boys and they put her as the hottest mom? I think that was season 2. All
right,
where she's the hottest mom list.
List of hottest moms. Excellent. That is season 2, episode 3.
Hell yeah.
The MILF list. Yeah. Well done.
List. Also, I remember her son fucking that woman in their bed. And she was like, don't fuck on my bed.
And yeah. Honestly, excellent so far. Fantastic. All right.
I'm only half a point down.
Yeah, this is perfect. All right, next one. This is sort of a choose your own adventure here. Can you just tell me the identity of at least one of these characters? I'll give you bonus points if you can do all 3, but I just need at least one. Zed, Lyle, or Jamie?
Okay, Lyle is Che's ex-husband.
Current husband, but yes.
Oh, right, because they never officially got divorced, but they're sort of divorced, but they also still fuck. Yes, no, I remember.
Bonus
and
points?
He's played by Oliver Hudson.
Yeah. Wow, good job.
Him I know like the back of my hand. Jamie and Zed. Zed, I really don't know. Jamie sounds really familiar to me, but I'm not going to crack it.
Zed is the club owner Sema dates for a while.
The trashy European?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And Jamie is Adam Karma's nephew.
Oh, I thought it was his brother with the curly hair.
Yes.
Who had assembling of a plot for 2 seconds and then they just dumped him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
Listen,
Lyle,
Jamie.
I remembered, man. Yeah. Like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Anything Che touched, I remember vividly.
You know, which really goes to show their impact is they are the star of the show. Whether you like it or not.
They are the Samantha.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Holy
Okay.
shit. And then they do a sequel of this with like all of the Gen Z characters and everyone's like, where's Che? All right. What finally made Miranda quit alcoholism?
Oh God. It was she got drunk at something, I thought. It's like I so remember her pouring the drink down the sink because it was an Aperol spritz, and I was like, yeah. She was like gonna make an Aperol spritz or something. What is it? Is it after she gives the divorce speech to Steve?
Is it after she gives the divorce speech to Steve? I believe so.
What do you have as the answer?
It's when she orders a book twice and forgets about it.
Oh, yes. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, because she thinks it's like about how to stop drinking. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So she thinks someone ordered it for her.
I'm only a point and a half down.
Yeah,
I figured
exactly.
that
And you
I'm
got
doing
the
great.
bonus. You got all three of those names. So those are 2 bonuses. If you want to keep track. +2.
Well, I didn't guess them. You knew them. You told me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, I highlighted the whole.
I don't cheat here. Okay.
We are women of integrity.
I'm at a point and a half down. How many questions do I have left?
2 more.
Okay. I'm averaging a 9.5. Let's go.
What is the name of Carrie's book that she writes that ends with Big's death?
Oh God, isn't it like To Loved and Lost?
There it is.
Hell yeah. Oh, I know those books. Like the back of my hand.
All right, this last one is the most important. You ready?
Okay.
Marina DeMarzo. Who built this house?
Steve Brady built this house.
That's right. And that concludes the And Just Like That quiz, ladies and gentlemen.
Hell yeah. I mean, 8.5 is not bad.
That's an A. That's an A right there.
That's
my
by
God.
a fraction of a point. I just forgot Miranda's alcoholism because, frankly speaking, the writers did too.
Exactly. That's exactly why that's on this quiz.
I blame that loss on them.
That's exactly why that's on this quiz.
Wow. Thank you for doing that. That was really magical. And I can't wait when I get my PhD and Just Like That. And then I'm invited on talk shows to talk about it as an expert.
To talk about the legacy. Yeah, absolutely.
Dear
You're going to
God.
defend it. And everyone will be like, I can't argue with her because I didn't watch the show. So I think she's telling the truth.
The one expertise nobody can fight me on because no one else has it because no one else wants to sit through this misery. Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think that is the perfect note to end on. Goodbye, and Just Like That. We hardly knew ye.
I think we knew you too much.
Actually. And we will be back at some point. We will pick up where we left off with season 5 of Sex and the City. When that is, we don't quite know, but we will keep you posted. In the meantime, you can head over to our YouTube at Sister Pigs, plural, at Sister Pigs, where we will be coming out with more Sex and the City in Baldur's Gate content. We just filmed an episode. So much fun. So we're excited to bring that to you soon. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, bye.